Hello, everybody. Let's see here. We are live and streaming. I like it when a plan comes together. Hannibal Lecter, for those of you old enough to remember him. We are going to be talking about the risks of Wi-Fi today. And in fact, all week this week, our lives are, well, our lives, our Facebook lives basically are all designed to be helping you understand Wi-Fi. We're going to be covering the risks, what they're doing to you, and a few things that you should be doing when you're using Wi-Fi. Now, in these lives over the last couple of weeks, we've covered mobile devices, we've covered VPNs in some detail. Of course, these lives are all free. I'm hoping to have a free masterclass on Friday. Depends on how my week rolls out. Very, very busy because we're launching a brand new product coming up in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And it's taking a lot of our time, the whole team's time. You're going to love this thing. But anyhow, as always, you can check me out online at craigpeterson.com. I'm always glad to answer your questions there, and we're going to do a little bit of a dive here today. We try and stay out of some of the stuff that's a little too technical, but I want you guys to understand everything that's going on. So following my notes here, so I make sure that I do kind of cover some of this stuff. Let's start first with Wi-Fi itself. Of course, you know it's a wireless protocol. We're not going to get into that. There are multiple versions of the protocol. I'm not going to get into that. The versions have to do with different speeds and different frequencies. There are also nowadays multiple encryption types for the protocols. And we will talk more about that when we get into our master class on Wi-Fi as to what those different types of encryption are, what you should be using. But for today, we're going to talk really about what is public Wi-Fi versus what is your private Wi-Fi that you might have at your home or that you might have at your office. Now, I did not say at your business because many businesses provide free Wi-Fi for the use of their clients. And that's all well and good for them. They think they're doing a little bit of a favor, but we're going to talk about the risks here in a couple of minutes and how some of those risks might be transferred to you as the business owner. And we'll be covering that a little bit this week as well. Even with your employees bringing their own devices into work, there are still major risks, and we'll cover some of those as well. All right, so public Wi-Fi. This is the Wi-Fi that you see when you're on an airplane, at the airport, at the coffee shop, when you've gone into your favorite big box retailer. They've all got Wi-Fi. And they're providing it for you to make your life a little bit easier. And I will admit to using those Wi-Fis on a number of occasions. You know, it's really hard. You're over at, let's say, a Home Depot or somewhere else, and you're trying to see, is this really what you want? Is this really what you need? And so you want to get on, do a little FaceTime video with them, and you just don't have enough data because it's inside of a big metal building. It acts like a Faraday cage. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. In fact, your money can't even get out of those places. So you have to use Wi-Fi in that case. And that's what VPNs are all about. And that's last week's topic. So those are what public Wi-Fi are. And many people use them, and they don't just use them to have, like what I said, have a little FaceTime call. But remember, when you are using your device and it's connected to a network, that device is now also exchanging emails, doing a bunch of things in background. Hey, everybody, if you just take a quick second, give me a thumbs up or a like or hit that little follow, that little bell up in the corner if you're watching this live on YouTube, so that everybody knows we're here, and those people who might not be aware of it, they'll get notified. The more people that hit the little love or thumbs up or whatever, it really helps to get the message out. And a lot of people need to understand this, let me tell you. So you're using Wi-Fi, you're using it on your smart device or your not just your cell phone, but your tablet, and nowadays your computers. You look at some of these computers like Google Chromes, and they have built-in cellular modems, not just Wi-Fi. So whenever you're connecting to a network, your device is going to start talking. And it might jabber, it might leak information, which is part of what you're worried about. That's where the VPNs come in, and VPNs, if you use them, should be on almost all of the time, and should be going to the right destination. We talked about which VPN providers you can trust, etc., and we'll cover that a lot more later on. You missed the master class on that, oh well, but you can certainly look at some of the lives I did over the last couple of weeks. So you're on a public network. Why does it matter? Well, first of all, you have a possibility here of something that's called a man-in-the-middle attack. Now, we did talk about man-in-the-middle attacks. In fact, when it comes strictly to VPNs, or particularly to VPNs, but man-in-the-middle attacks can occur in lots of situations. In this case, it's a form of eavesdropping. So someone else can be on the same network as you, and if that network Wi-Fi router isn't set up securely, and some of them can't even be set up securely. If you bought it at the big box retailer, yeah, I got a Wi-Fi router for my business over at Staples, forget about it. You can't even use this type of function. But the Wi-Fi router should not allow any of these people to be able to see anybody else or talk to anybody else, ping anybody else, scan anybody else, because that's what bad guys do. But the cheap stuff, by default, no, you can, and that's a real big problem. So with a man-in-the-middle attack, it's where they can get you now. Somebody else on that network can get you to route their data through you. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with a malicious hotspot, these rogue access points, these evil twins, where you are in a coffee shop and you see a Wi-Fi network you can connect to called Coffee Shop, and then you connect to it. How many times have you gone into like a Starbucks and they've got Google Wi-Fi there, and you connect to that Starbucks Wi-Fi? Well, your phone knows to connect to it because you've checked automatically connect, right? So next time you're in Starbucks, automatically it's going to connect for you. Well, that's a public Wi-Fi network. And let's say you go into another office at an airport, whatever, and someone advertises, Starbucks as a network for Wi-Fi. You connect to that public network. It's actually somebody's laptop. Now, it may be malicious on the part of the laptop owner. It may not be malicious on the part of the laptop owner. Because what can happen here, frankly, is that laptop owner has malware on it, has no idea, or his laptop is being remotely controlled, and there's a bad guy there. So now you've connected automatically to Google's network. They're a part, Starbucks, thanks Starbucks, and it's not really there. So man-in-the-middle attacks, very, very big deal. Unencrypted networks, this happens a lot, particularly in the lesser fancy, if you will, places that really haven't done the right job. They haven't hired the right people to bring in the Wi-Fi. But encryption is when the data between your computer and the router is encrypted. And as I said, there's a number of different types of encryption. So you got to be careful. If an IT professional set it up, hopefully it is encrypted and they can't see each other, right? Malware distribution's a real big problem when it comes to Wi-Fi. Again, other people are on that network. Would you plug into a network that had a known bad guy on it? Well, how do you know there's not a known bad guy? And what happens is the malware sits there and it keeps scanning the networks that the laptop or the Android phone or whatever it might be. It keeps scanning the networks it attaches to, and if it finds a vulnerable device, guess what? Ta-da, it's done. Malware is now on your device. And then the bad guys, of course, use that malware for what bad guys use malware for. To steal your information, your bank information, account information, passwords, etc. Snooping and sniffing, just what it sounds like here. There are special software kits, there's devices, and I showed this device last week. Let me just extend this. Hold on a second. In my course last week, this device is used exactly for that. This is called a Pineapple, a Wi-Fi Pineapple, and this will break into Wi-Fi networks, and it'll pretend that it is somebody's Wi-Fi network. And now all I have to do is, I don't have to plug it in, frankly. I can just right here put 5 volts into it from a USB port, and I'm all set. It's It's amazing. We got Ethernet on here. There's also obviously USB, and there's hardwire Ethernet. This is the type of thing a bad guy can use, and they do use every day, and they're cheap, and they're available online, right? It's just that simple. And now the bad guys with something like this, or just some software on their Windows PC, can monitor everything that you're doing. There's also these malicious hotspots, these rogue hotspots that I talked about a little bit earlier that might not be labeled Starbucks. It might be just labeled, as I mentioned, kind of the local coffee shop, or just open, or you see them all the time, like an HP printer or something. So here's some basic rules, okay? Here's what I want you to do right now. First of all, don't allow your Wi-Fi to auto-connect to networks. Make sure that's turned off. Log into any account by an app that contains sensitive information. Not such a great idea. Go to the website instead and verify the HTTPS when you do that. So what I'm talking about here in the HTTPS is if you look on your browser at the top, there's that URL bar that has the website name on it. On the left, usually there'll be a little lock, a green lock or some other symbol. You can click on that lock and it'll now let you drill down into the details of the certificate, if there is one, a security certificate. Many times there isn't a security certificate. Many times it's just signed by a generic signing entity. We use those a lot for lower end websites, but be very careful. So don't use the app, use the website. Leave your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth off if you're not using them. Bluetooth has also been used to hack phones, and contact lists, all kinds of information have gone out via Bluetooth, including banking information, because they use that as a vector to get into the device. Don't access websites that hold your sensitive information when you're out on somebody else's Wi-Fi. But again, always, even at home, always make sure that HTTPS, that secure certificate, is valid and connected. And if the network you're trying to connect to is not password protected, the odds are the security is not turned on. That's not always the case, but that is usually the case, because security is determined by the security protocol, the encryption protocol, which is always tied into a password of some sort, okay? Also, disable file sharing and log out accounts when you're done using them. And as always, make sure you have a good security stack. Use something like OpenDNS as your default router, and not router, but DNS server. I've got to put a little word in here, by the way. We use Umbrella, which is a version of OpenDNS that's for business. There are others out there right now that you can use, but the only way you can enforce the use of OpenDNS and some of these others is to really put your thumb down by putting the device under mobile device management. And that way, if it's not connecting to the office network, it forces it to use a VPN. So lots of stuff to know. If you have any questions, any problems, I know this is complicated. We're going to dive into this a little bit more tomorrow to talk more about what the bad guys are doing. But you can always email me at craigpeterson.com. If you want a little bit of help, it's right there on the screen there, I think, right? craigpeterson.com. And I will be more than glad to help you. That's what my team and I do all day long. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll be talking more about Wi-Fi tomorrow. Give me a thumbs up, would you? I'd really appreciate that. It really helps to spread the word a little bit. And I'm going to keep this up for just a minute in case anybody else has any other comments or questions. You can always post them if you're watching the replay down below, okay? Take care, everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow.